Hello friends, this video on evolution part 17 is brought to you by examfear.com. No more fear from exam. So now we will see how exactly evolution took place. That is, which organisms came first and then how the next organisms followed. So we will talk about that sequence here. So as I said before also that as per Darwinian theory, simpler things were followed by the complex things. So the first organism, the exact first organism is still not known what it was, but it is for sure that it was some unicellular life form which was made up of just one cell. Now these unicellular life forms came into existence almost 2000 million years ago. So that long back. So they were the first life forms, and from these small unicellular life forms gradually they started uniting together and they started to form some simple multicellular organisms. Then those multicellular organisms again formed little more complex organisms, and finally the invertebrates were seen around 500 million years ago. So again, after the unicellular organisms, the next bunch of organisms that could be seen were the invertebrates. But if you see, there is a lot of difference between their time as well. This was 2000 million years ago and this was 500 million years ago. So a lot of things, actually a lot of changes happened in between these, because it was not that suddenly from one bacteria came up one big invertebrate. So that also took time. Gradually over a long period of time this evolution happened. From these invertebrates came up the first jawless fish. So the jawless fish, they did not have the jaws. So those kind of creatures which were seen in water. However, in these kind of jawless fishes, fins and all those locomotory organs were not developed. So later fins were developed in fishes and they could move from one place to another. And then those jawless fishes with fins, which had fins for movement, they gradually helped in the evolution of amphibians later. But meanwhile there were few plants also which came into existence. So these jawless fishes were seen almost 350 million years ago, and the plants, the first few plants, the smaller plants, these were seen around 320 million years ago. So now again later these plants gradually grew up into bigger trees. However, the gymnosperms and angiosperms, they were seen quite later. They did not come up at the first go. However, by the time animals started coming on the surface of earth, plants were already widespread throughout the land. So plants, it came quite before the animals. The bigger animals, I mean, the vertebrates and all. So as I said, these jawless fishes then later had fins and all, and those jawless fishes with fins later evolved into amphibians. That is, those organisms were able to live both on land and water. And these amphibians again over a period of time, they evolved into reptiles. And reptiles in those days, there were two types of reptiles. Some of them were the land reptiles and some of them were the fish-like reptiles. So one category was the land reptile which lived on land, and the other category were the fish-like reptiles which used to live in water. These fish-like reptiles were seen almost 200 million years ago, and the land reptiles, I am very sure you all are aware, yes, the dinosaurs. They were the major land reptiles. And in fact, there was this period when the reptiles were ruling the earth. So majority of the living organisms which were found on the earth were reptiles. So reptiles ruled the earth. However, these dinosaurs, they were the land reptiles which were extremely huge in size. They disappeared around 65 million years ago from now. Again, the cause of the disappearance is not exactly known, but some of the factors that might have caused their extinction are the change in the climate. So climatic change is one such factor. There is another factor which could be possible, and that is some of the dinosaurs got modified with wings and later they gradually evolved into birds. So some of the dinosaurs, maybe they could not survive in the changing climatic conditions, and some of them evolved into birds. So as a result, the dinosaurs disappeared, and that is how they became extinct. Then later from these reptiles came up the birds. As I said that there is a link between reptiles and birds, and that is where that Archaeopteryx come into picture, which I discussed quite a while back. So the birds came, and then again in birds also a lot of evolution happened. Many different types of birds came up, and finally the last came up the mammals. And as I said, there was a time when the reptiles ruled, and then later there came a time when the mammals ruled the earth, because majority of the living organisms which you see are all mammals. And these mammals were viviparous, that is, they directly gave birth to their young ones. They did not lay eggs, and also they have this special feature of intelligence which was not present in all the other lower organisms. Now again, evolution of each mammal is a story in itself. You talk about elephant, you talk about dogs, you talk about horses. So each of the mammals has a story of its own, that how that particular mammal evolved. Like I was telling you some time back that dogs evolved from the grey wolves. So over a long period of time, the grey wolves actually helped in the evolution of dogs, and now we have so many different varieties of dogs. So in a very similar way, different mammals evolved in a different way. So there is a story behind each mammal. However, we are not going to discuss about the evolution of each and every mammal right here. Maybe if you study this later in your higher classes, you will learn about the evolution of each and every mammal. So here we will spend some time understanding our evolution, understanding the evolution of human beings, how human beings evolved. So let us quickly look at the evolution of dogs from grey wolves, as I said. So initially these grey wolves existed. From these grey wolves came up the different varieties of dogs which you see today. Now here it was not only a natural process, but it was also a lot of effort being put by human beings. That is, artificial breeding also played an important role here, where we see that these many varieties of dogs were being formed by selecting the desirable traits. So some of them have lot of furs, some of them are very small in size, some of them have long ears, some of them have got patches over their body. So all these different physical and morphological traits appeared due to the mixing of traits between two different varieties of dogs. Thank you. Please visit examfear.com for an easy 4-step learning process absolutely free of cost. Watch video lessons, ask questions, refer notes, and take an online test. Thank you once again.